Yeah, I'm glad to hear from you.
Yes, definitely. How's it been going?
Good, good. We're getting out and doing a little bit of work. We did a landscape job last week in media, and it works out well because we really don't have to have any, contact with people, so it's safe. And also I worked at my church, St. Mark's in Bromall, and we're kind of on shutdown there, but I'm allowed to go in a couple of days a week and do some work, so that's good. But when I'm there's nobody else there but me, so it's
good.
Yeah.
Something to pass the time at least.
I'm sorry?
It's something to pass the time at least.
Yeah. I love getting outdoors. And, especially, the weather's been bad, though. I mean, nothing but rain. It's like living in Seattle, but hopefully we turn the corner on that now and the weather's going to be nicer.
I agree. Past week was a little rough with the wind and the rain.
Oh, I know. I saw in the news, different places where really big trees were taken down by the wind. And one, I can't remember where it was, but it fell into a house. But fortunately, nobody got hurt. So that was good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad no one got hurt. All right, so you want to try this again?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. All right, so the first question is, where do you and Elaine like to go for vacation?
Okay. That's a good question. It's really been a long time since we've taken a vacation, but we both love the mountains and the woods, and we're probably like the Poconos, nice log cabin in the Poconos. We prefer, like a cabin like that instead of a hotel room.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I completely agree there. Well, hopefully you get a vacation soon.
Yeah, it would be really nice to be do that.
Perfect. Okay. So then the next question is, oh gosh, I have my questions. What is your biggest pet peeve? What irritates you the most?
What irritates me at the theater?
Yeah.
My only pet peeve in the theater really is actors when they're not learning their lines,
Yeah.
I've been involved in a production where it was the lead actor, and he wasn't really studying his lines, and he was really dragging the production down. It wasn't where it was supposed to be. And I spoke to him about it. I just said, hey, I'm not the director, but I was just wondering, are you spending any time on your lines? And he says, oh, I don't learn my lines till like 2 weeks before the show opens.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And I've never, let me clarify, never has there been a problem with Colonial. I have never experienced there, but I have experienced it at other theaters, and it really throws everybody off, and it's not fair to the cast.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. I mean, you do all that practicing. You would think that they would want to, do a little studying before the practice to make the practice worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's better for them. It's better for, their character development and, their confidence level and everything else. So, yeah, that would probably be in life in general, I really don't have. I'm a really easygoing guy. I don't really have pet peeves, but as far as the theater goes, that would be it.
I believe it. How many hours do you devote a week to studying lines when you're in the middle of a season?
Very good question.
It depends on your part too, I guess.
Absolutely. I was an original play by Bruce Warren, and it was at Barnstormers, and I was the narrator. Excuse me. Well, the narrator had quite a few lines. I don't know, over 200 lines. So when I was getting ready for that, I was probably spending an hour a night, maybe 2 hours a night, not just for the memorization, but for the emotional tone and, and all of that. If it's a smaller role, like I do a lot of the colonial quickies.
Yeah.
And, of course, when you're in a quickie, your lines, you don't really have that many lines. So when I'm doing that, I can almost grasp it immediately and, don't have to spend a lot of time on lines. But if it's a big part, yeah, I work on it every day.
Good, yeah. It definitely is important.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so the next question is, what is on your bucket list, whether it's in theater or in your personal life? Something you want to do before you die.
Good question. There are parts I'd love to do. And do you mind if I pick a couple of them?
No, don't. Yeah, definitely.
One part I would like. I love Christmas Carol. I've done Christmas Carol at 3 different theaters. I've done it at Hedgerow Theater, Colonial Playhouse, and Players Club Swarthmore. And I have pretty much done every age-appropriate role. I've played Jacob Marley 72 times. I did it 64 times at Hedgerow Theater and 8 times at Colonial Playhouse.
Yep.
But I have never done Ebenezer Scrooge. And I feel like I've aged my way into that role. I really think I could grasp the role and would really love to do it. Also, I love Albert Einstein. And if I could get made up and learn his accent, I would love to do, like a short one-man show.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, I would love to do that. So really, those are really 2 big things that I would love to do.
Fantastic.
Oh, also, Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman.
Okay, that's a great play.
Love it. Love it. I actually studied that in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but we didn't put on the play. We just did a reading.
Yeah. You dissected it in English class. We did that a couple times in high school.
Yeah.
Well, Christmas Carol we're always doing at Colonial, so maybe that will happen. Ebenezer Scrooge. So I know Albert Einstein's probably the next one, but who would you love to meet, dead or alive? And it can be a couple people if you want.
I would love to meet Albert Einstein. I've read quite a bit about him. He was quite a character. I mean, he he loved comedy. He had a humorous side that probably some people don't know about. And he was just this fascinating individual who had incredible powers of concentration, and he could think of a problem for days, weeks, months, and that in part that's how he was able to stay fixated on his theories. Plus, I guess he was a womanizer too when he was young.
That's what I've only read a little bit about him, but I've seen some of the movies that play him as a parody, and he just seems like such a character. Like he's very multidimensional.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I guess at one time he was a big cigar smoker, and it got so bad that he was chain smoking cigars. So his second wife said, "That's it, Albert. No more cigars." So he loved when he had to go somewhere and speak or go to a dinner because he could sneak a cigar.
Oh, that's funny. Well, then you could have some cigars with him. Yeah, he would have been cool to meet in person. Go ahead. Keep going.
I have a real amateur interest in theoretical physics. And I say amateur because I don't pretend to understand a lot of it, but I love reading about it. And I would love to meet Peter Higgs, who discovered the Higgs boson particle, which makes up the Higgs field, which subatomic particles interact with to form mass. And the more they interact with the Higgs field, the more mass they have. And he would be a fascinating person to listen to. Also, of course, Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
Would love to hear him, talk about like black holes and what goes on with them. And another really fascinating theoretical physicist is Brian Greene. Brian Greene has done lectures on alternate universes. He did a lecture at MIT called Hidden Realities, and it was really fascinating. And he's still alive. He's a professor of physics and mathematics at Columbia University.
Okay.
So, yeah, those people. And if I could probably throw one more person in there, it would be Vincent van Gogh, because I think he was a fascinating individual.
Yeah, it would definitely be an in-depth conversation if you had all of them there, because they all have many layers. And I think a handful of them were womenizers as well, so you never know. They might be getting you into trouble there.
Yeah, right.
So how many years have you acted in general? And where did you start?
I started, I've been acting since 2006. And funny story, I was watching a play on PBS with my wife. And very confidently I said to her, "Oh, I could do that." And she looked at me and said, "Yeah, right." Well, about a week later, we had to go to the bed and bath. And on the way back from the bed and bath, we were stopped at a red light. And she turned to me and she said, I was reading about this open audition at a theater in Swarthmore called Players Club, and I would like you to go and audition. So I said, okay. So it was the following Monday night, and we got there around 7:15, and of course, when I filled out the audition form, there was just my name and address on it. There was nothing else. I had no experience. So we were sitting in the lobby at Players Club, and it was about 10 o'clock at night, and she's looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and she's thinking, oh, gee, I hope he's not frustrated and wants to leave, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I'm really, I don't want to put her through this. I wonder if she's wanting to leave. And then, just as I'm thinking that, somebody said, Jim Hulme.
Oh, my
so
God.
Stage, and George Ansley was the director. George had been over there for years, and the play was Arcadia, Tom Spofford's Arcadia. Well, in the cast of Arcadia, they have a present-day cast and a historical cast, and I wanted to try out for the historical cast. But anyway, I figured I'd try for the butler because I figured, well, butler, how hard can it be? Anyway, so I got up and I did my audition, and George Ansley said, oh, that's good. We have callbacks on next Tuesday. So, not knowing anything about the theater, I thought he said, I'm going to call you next Tuesday.
Didn't know what a callback was.
Didn't know what a callback was. Didn't go to a callback.
Oh, no.
So about 2 weeks go by, and I'm real, disappointed. Said, Elaine, I guess I just didn't get the part. And she said, well, maybe he got busy. Why don't you call him? So I said, okay. So I got on the phone, I called him, and I said, George, this is Jim Hulme. I've been anxious to talk with you. And George said, oh, Jim, I've been anxious to talk with you, too. I want to cast you in my play.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, you would have thought that I hit the lottery. I'm on the phone with him. I'm going, okay, oh, that's good. That's great. Keeping my cool.
Right.
Okay, next Monday night, okay, I'll be there at 7. Okay, great. I get off the phone, I started jumping up and down and screaming. Like you would have thought I hit megabucks, hit the lottery for like $1 million. I was so excited. My wife Elaine gave me a big hug, and that was my first play. It was Arcadia, and even though I got cast as the butler, at the read-through, George came up to me and he said, I want you to play Captain Bryce instead, a Royal Naval captain. And Captain Bryce was kind of this humorous, clueless naval captain, which of course was typecasting for me. Clueless. But yeah, it worked out great. And a few months after that, Bruce Warren was looking for people to do Annie Get Your Gun musical. And it all took off from there.
That's great. Well, it's a good thing you persevered and called back eventually.
I know.
Why?
I know.
The theater does have a lingo all on its own, so that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I had no idea. And I remember, the first night of rehearsal, after we you do the read through, and then you have your first night of rehearsal. So rehearsal, he says, okay, we're just going to work on blocking tonight. And I'm sitting there going, what's blocking? Blocking? What in the world? I had no idea. So needless to say, hopefully learned a lot in that production.
Absolutely. You've been going strong since 2014.
Yeah, that's 38 shows ago.
Oh, my gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you kind of answered my next question, which was what made you start acting. You kind of said a show caught you off guard that you were watching. I've
always had a creative side. I've always had a need to create. And, I mean, you know, when I was a kid, I used to do drawing, and I remember many years ago in my hometown of Medford, Massachusetts, they had a citywide contest for artwork that they wanted to display in the new library. And I was lucky enough that mine was one of the ones that got picked. So I have that creative side that I have to somehow express, and I've done it with poetry and short story writing, but love the theater. That's my first love.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you started. How long have you been at the Colonial?
I started at Colonial in 2014.
Okay.
And funny story, first couple of times that me and my wife Elaine wanted to go to Colonial, we had trouble finding it.
I could believe that.
So the third time, I said, we're going to find this theater. Let's stop at that bar. I'm sure, you know, they probably know where everything in the town is. And sure enough, they gave us good directions. We were not that far away from it. I think the bar was Brewski's. I'm not sure, but
yep.
Yeah. So we found it, and I auditioned for a play there, and I was pretty confident. Usually I'm not confident going to auditions. I was pretty confident because I knew the person that was directing the production, got along good with them, and I said, oh, okay, all I got to do is show up. No, I didn't get casted.
Oh.
Didn't get cast. So I got really upset. I'm saying, you know, 3 times it took me to find this theater, and
yeah,
you know, I'm not going back there. Blah blah blah. You know,
I get cast 3 times, and then you don't get casted.
So anyway, a few months after that, a friend of mine, Kathy Fallon, called and said, we're doing a play called You Can't Take It With You. And it's a small role. Would you be willing to be one of the G-men? And I said, well, Kathy, let me think about it. So at that time, I'd been acting 8 years, and I said to my wife, I said, you know, I don't know. I've been acting 8 years. Why do I have to take a small role like that, you know?
Right.
Act as ego, I don't know. I don't think it was ego. I just think, you know, I was looking for a bigger part. But Elaine said, look, you haven't done anything 6 months, and you need to be on stage. Just go and do it and see what happens. And it went great. It was a really good play. Was really glad to be part of it. I think it was the last play that Jim Brennan directed, so I got to meet Jim, and Jim was really encouraging, and he was a great guy to work for. But to make a long story short, I was so glad I did that because I have been in so many shows at Colonial and have made so many friends. They're like family. I love the theater. At this point, I won't even act at another theater.
Aw.
Yeah. And I haven't. I've been Requiem for a Heavyweight will be my 18th production at Colonial Playhouse, including the Colonial Quickies. So 18 shows.
Wow. It goes by fast.
It really does. And
I'm glad you took that part, even if it was small. They
me
say
too.
there are no small parts, and you got to know the theater, the Colonial, a little better.
Exactly.
What was your favorite role to play?
At Colonial?
It could be at Colonial or Hedgerow or Swarthmore, wherever.
Good question. This wasn't at Colonial. It was in Westchester, but it was a Colonial production. I played James the Butler in the Manor.
The Manor. I love the Manor.
Yeah, I really, really love being part of that. So that's one of my favorites. I loved playing Injun Joe and Tom Sawyer.
That was also a great production.
Really, really enjoyed being part of that. And I did a really funny comedy at Hedgerow Theater years ago, in 2007. I played a elderly hospital patient, Bill Leslie, and Bill was in a wheelchair, but he could walk, and he had all these really funny one-liners. He was like half senile. It was a Ray Cooney farce, and it was called It Runs in the Family, and it was about a doctor, and he had an affair with the nurse years previous. Now his 15-year-old son comes looking for him, and the son only knows that his name is Leslie, so they mix it up, and he thinks that I'm Leslie. I'm like, no, you're not. No,
oh, my gosh.
You got the wrong guy. And finally he finds his father, but it's a real funny physical comedy. We're in and out of windows and on window ledges. At one point, they take me and they stuff me in a window box. So it's really, really funny, great role. The thing I loved about it was I really didn't know it was funny until I did that, and people loved it. It was hilarious, the role. And the way I studied for it was just watching a lot of comedy on TV.
That's cool.
A lot of I Love Lucy, all of her reruns. So I started working on my facial expressions, movement, and all that. And it was a really great experience, and it lasted about 3 months.
That's and you said that kind of added some like versatility to your acting because it was a comedy, and learning those facial expressions it probably made you, a stronger actor even in the dramas. With like, I don't know, like Injun Joe, like some of your facial expressions from that production added the whole mood to like the scene you were in. So, I mean, Lucy is just a fantastic person to watch.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic. My last question, and I know you already kind of said it, was just what you loved about Colonial, or how you would sum it up.
I love Colonial, and I love taking part in a production, whether on stage or being the usher, or whatever I can do to help out. I've seen some really, really good productions there. Several years back, me and my wife took this couple friends of ours and to see The Graduate, and we went to the Springfield Diner after the show, and my friend Sean said, I saw The Graduate in Off-Broadway in New York, and I liked Colonial Playhouse production much better. I was like, wow.
Wow, that's a wonderful compliment.
Yeah. In Colonial is a really broad base of talent. People come from all over. We're really blessed that way. At times we get people from New York, and just really, good talent from, everywhere.
Yeah, I definitely think, and you kind of had said it earlier, how acting for you is like an outlet of creativity and it's passion. I think everyone that works there, everyone's passionate about the role they're in, whether it is on stage or behind the stage. And you guys have a faithful following of people, because I do a lot of the tickets and 50/50 raffles, and
yeah,
it's the same people every show, and it's nice because I've gotten to know them. So, I definitely think the talent is definitely, you can see it, and I don't know if it's just skilled talent. I mean, a lot of you are skilled. I think there is passion involved too. You just see there's a connection between all the actors.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which is awesome. It's very cool to see.
Yeah. We have socialized with different actors and became, good friends with different actors from Colonial. So we have, socialized outside of the theater. And can I just, before we wrap it up, can I mention one thing?
Of course.
I don't know, did you know Gene Harris? He was an actor at Colonial, and unfortunately we lost him in 2014.
I want to say, if I saw a picture, was he friends with Jim Brennan?
Yeah, him and Jim Brennan and Gene Harris were really good friends, and it's sad, it's unfortunate. They died like a week apart.
Yeah, so then, yes, because I remember my Aunt Sam talking about the gentleman, and I had met them, I want to say, when they were working at the ticket booth.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I've seen them in a couple of shows. But I was young, years ago.
I worked with Gene for a short while, and we became good friends. And Gene had, for a couple of years, worked off-Broadway in New York, and he was a really good actor. I remember seeing him in a production called Superior Donuts. He played this hippie-type guy who owned a donut shop. He had inherited the donut shop from his parents, and he did a fantastic job. Apparently, he had been a draft dodger during the Vietnam War.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But this is the thing. Here's Gene playing a draft dodger, and Gene was a decorated a decorated hero from the Vietnam War. Gene had Bronze Star from the Vietnam War.
Wow.
But
he was able to just put on the role.
And he put on the role incredible. It was a great show. Your Aunt Sam was in it. She played a cop.
So a troublemaker can play a cop. See, you're right.
She's a good cop. Steve Kelly was in it. He played a bookie. Brendan Young was in it. Brendan Young played Steve Kelly's assistant. Sue Trigiani played a homeless woman. Gene played the owner of the shop. And this young black man comes to work for Gene. And Gene eventually sticks up for the young black man because this bookie's after him. And Gene gets in a big fight with him. It was a great show. But Gene was really good. And when I saw that, I said, geez, I hope I get to do something at Colonial someday. And
here we are.
And here we are. And shortly after that, I was in It's a Wonderful Life. He played Mr. Potter, and, of course, I played his Mr. Potter's goon.
Oh, yeah. You did a great job on that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. That's all. I just wanted to remember Gene.
No, I think that, and it's well-deserved because he was a great actor. And I think a great advocate for small theater, being somebody who was so successful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for doing this again and being patient with it all. I look forward to sending it to the team. Great.
I really appreciate all your hard work. Sorry it didn't work out the first time, but...
It was nice to chat and follow up how you're still surviving quarantine.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'll see you in the fall in Requiem for the Heavyweight.
Great. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you so much, Jim.
Thank you, Caitlin.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.